I did actually get to meet Bryn back in March, and she is like the sweetest person ever. She's so Canadian. She's so Canadian. She said sorry about that, and I just about passed out. I love her. Everything is getting spoiled, and the bird is just stirring the pot. Oh! Okay, this lighting is gonna be what it is because the sun is directly coming in. I've done what I can with the blinds. This is what it is for today. So, well, hello, I'm Erica. I am Odd. If you are new here, hi! I'm so glad that you're here. Today I'll be doing a book review on harvest season, and I usually do this when I have 6-star or really, really good 5-star reads. Whenever I do these reviews, you know it's a good book in my opinion because I don't do sit-down style reviews like this for books that I think are terrible. I think that that's just mean and unnecessary. Will I give my honest opinion in a monthly reading wrap-up? Yes, I will. However, I don't think that there's a need to sit down and just like hate on a book. So whenever you guys see these pop up on my page, just know this is a really good read. And today we're going to be talking about harvest season. As we know, I'm a big fan of Bryn Weaver. I'm not somebody who's like, my main genre is dark romance, right? I would say my top genres are, if I had to pick two, romance and thrillers. But if we're doing middle ground work, romance, romantasy, thrillers, horror books, that's my vibes. However, I do enjoy some dark romances by certain authors. I'm somebody who it has to be the correct dark romance. I am very picky about my dark romance, and Bryn Weaver is by far my favorite. I have never read a book by Bryn Weaver that I didn't like. So, I am also starting her other smaller series that is on Amazon, Kindle Unlimited. So, if I love that series, maybe I'll do a review on it. However, she came out with Taurus season last year, and I was obsessed. More obsessed with it than I was the Ruinous trilogy, as we know. As I've talked about on this channel before, I loved that series. That's the series that introduced me to Bryn Weaver, but this one is the one that I have to finish this series. Cape Carnage series is going to be my favorite series. I can already tell. I did actually get to meet Bryn back in March, and she is like the sweetest person ever. She's so Canadian. She's so Canadian. She said sorry about that, and I just about passed out. I love her. And I ended up listening to the audiobook. I still have to buy my physical copy. I still have to go get my physical book, but I don't know what edition I want. Do I want the sprayed edges? Because my Taurus season one doesn't have sprayed edges. But I really like the sprayed edges on this one. I'm in it. I'm so down. So we'll see. I did do the audiobook for this one, and I started it at 6 a.m. on release day when I woke up. I stretched a second. I turned on my headphones and I immediately started listening to this book while I made coffee, while I ate breakfast. And then I listened to it throughout my day as I did stuff. And then I finished it around 6 p.m. that night. I finished it on release day, and I knew I had to make a video about it because I am obsessed. So, without any further ado, let's get into the review. A quick synopsis of the story. As we know, I just ramble in these videos, so you're going to learn more about the plot as we go through. I want to state this right now. This is a spoiler video. I will spoil everything. Everything about this book is about to be spoiled to you. I'm not holding anything back. I'm not going, well, I'll wait for this plot twist to be revealed and I'll wait for... No, I'm going to spoil things for her Taurus season and harvest season because they are synonymous within this plot line. Everything is getting spoiled. I'm even going to spoil some stuff from the Ruinous series. So, if you don't want things spoiled, I will see you in the next one, babe. Thank you for coming here. You looked wonderful. I hope that we can do this again. But if you are here for the spoiler, for the tea, for the vibes, thanks for hanging out. So, what we learned in previous Taurus season, right? We learned previously in Taurus season that Harper Starling and Nolan Rhodes are our main characters. As we move throughout Taurus season, we see that they are both serial. And of course they fall in love because that's what Bryn does. We learn that Nolan Rhodes is essentially hunting Harper Starling to avenge his brother's demise because she is apparently the drunk driver that cost him his life. As we move throughout Taurus season, we learn that Harper is caring for an elderly man who also happens to be a serial, because apparently this is super, super common. And she also has this crow called Pretty Bird. Love it. And meets Nolan. And as they are moving throughout, it's sort of an enemies to lovers situation. That is what takes place during the first book. However, at the very end, we learn that the sheriff is actually the serial killer, LaPlume, that everyone thinks disappeared. They think that it's actually the old man that Harper is caring for. In reality, the sheriff came to the town of Cape Carnage to sort of lie low and escape all that and make himself as inconspicuous as possible so that he can continue his hobbies. However, we also learn at the end of the first book that Harper is actually Autumn. Autumn, if you'll recall, if you read the Ruinous series, if you didn't, I'm about to ruin something for you. That pun was not intentional, but it was appreciated. Harper is Autumn. Autumn was the girl found when Rowan and Sloane were in their annual competition to hunt down actual serial killers. I think it was their second. It could have been their third, but I'm pretty sure it was their second. They came across a real, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre style, like, setup, you know, crazy farmer, locks people in a shed. It's pretty classic. They found a young woman in a dry storage cellar in the ground. As they found her, her boyfriend was in the main barn house. He is no longer with us, Adam. Sloane and Rowan actually rescue this girl. Autumn runs away into the night. She gets away, and we learn that Harper is actually Autumn. She moved to Cape Carnage, and the old man Henry does know her secret. She dyes her hair black. She goes by Harper Starling because she came across the crash site of Nolan's brother and decided to take out the drunk driver herself and assume her identity. That was the only way to escape the media circus surrounding Autumn being the only survivor, as Autumn and Adam were van life YouTubers before all of this happened to them. And she just like wanted no part of that. We learn about that in Harvest Season. In Harvest Season, we continue to follow Nolan finding out that Harper is actually Autumn, and he's having to reconcile with himself that he wanted to take her out and avenge his brother when in reality it was just this innocent person. In respects to his situation, innocent, that he was going to take out, and he's sort of reconciling the grief and the guilt with that. She herself is reconciling the grief of Adam and allowing herself to love again within this book and to love Nolan now. LePlume the sheriff, he plays a big part in this book. We see a lot more of him in this book. And he goes by a different name, but I'm just calling him LePlume the sheriff because I'm not keeping up, okay? There's so many names. We learn that this whole time he's sort of orchestrating to turn Nolan and Harper against each other because LePlume knows that Harper is Autumn. Basically, the pinnacle of the book is Harper. Do I call her Harper or Autumn? So while LePlume is framing Nolan for making it seem like he's ratting out Harper Autumn is obviously buying it and having to reconcile with the fact that this man that she allowed herself to love after her last boyfriend, Adam, is somebody who she thinks is betraying her. Does she think he's betraying her? Well, there's a metal implant in a leg of a bone that she has from somebody that she took out in the first book, and that's planted in plain sight in the garden. Now, she only told Nolan about it. However, obviously LePlume found it, blah, blah, blah. That being found in the garden in plain sight by Harper Autumn convinces her that Nolan is truly trying to take her out. LePlume then finds Henry, and this is the biggest spoiler of the book. LePlume plans on taking out the elderly gentleman Henry, which, by the way, in this series, what a light. He does have dementia, and it deals with the very real situations of that. How articulate he is, and how like classical he is, and how funny he is, and how like he's somebody who likes the finer things in life, and he has this sort of wealthy older man air about him, but not in a negative way. Like, he is such a lovable character, and he is such a anchoring and light point in this book. And he loves Harper as if it's his own daughter, and of course he lost his own daughter, as we learn about in the first book, to LePlume. She was one of the last victims. It is confessed in this book that the sheriff is LePlume. He confesses this to Henry, and he says, I am the one that did it. I'm the one that took out your daughter, and I will take Harper next. And Henry has chosen to sacrifice himself because LePlume injures him, but Henry ultimately makes the choice of, without me around now Harper will be able to really focus, and she'll find you, and she'll find out what you did. And he chooses to end his own story. And Harvest Season ends about a chapter or two later of Harper saying, I am going to find Nolan, and I'm going to take him out, because she thinks that he's the one that took out Henry. After all, she just finds him, and there's no sort of real evidence that anyone else was there. And in the epilogue, we see that Nolan is trapped by LePlume, and that is the cliffhanger that we are left on, which is Harper hating Nolan, and Nolan loving Harper and knowing that he has to get to her and also prove his innocence, but also like Henry's gone and she's like grief-stricken, and like how is he going to prove this? And the bird is just stirring the pot. Oh, this book was so good. Okay, let's get into my thoughts now. I love the plot twist in general, that Harper is actually Autumn. And I like how Brynn did this of, she didn't decide to just like wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm gonna be a serial killer. I think that this seems like a really good career path and like a good hobby of mine. Like, she never wanted to do that. But she was trapped in a situation that changed her. And I really like how Brynn shows that when you, as somebody who's gone through a bunch of trauma, if, by the way, this is a perfect time to bring this up. If you see this eye twitching, I have CPTSD. Talking about this book isn't causing it. I am very stressed with other things in my life. My eye has been twitching for days before harvest season even came out, all right? It's been twitching for like 2 weeks. I'm just high stress. And my coffee trailer was struck by lightning. Everything's fine. Nothing blew up. It's okay. But it was just a high stress situation that I had to deal with. That was the stress in May that I wasn't talking about until, I didn't want to talk about it until everything was solved. I am somebody who is like, I know that there's people watching my social media that don't like me and would love to take me in high stress situations and just make it worse, because that's the only time they see me as vulnerable. It's really weird and they need to get a life. But that was the stress I was dealing with. So my eye sometimes twitches, even though it's doing it right now, I can feel it. Just ignore it, okay? It's fine. Everything's fine. I promise. I promise. I would tell you if it wasn't fine. No, I wouldn't. I would tell you after everything is fine, because I just did that. But however, okay. Long story short, I have CPTSD, and when I have high stress situations like that, it sometimes causes like my eye to twitch or something. Just ignore it. Just ignore her. Ignore her. It's involuntary. But I like how Brynn deals with trauma and the fact that trauma does change you, and having to live through certain situations does change you as a human being. And something I like about Brynn too is that these people that her characters are taking out are not good people. They're not just doing it because they're fun. I mean, La Plume is, but he's the actual villain of the story, right? Not these two. But I like that she shows that contrast of like, oh no, there's real psycho that just do it because they're doing it and they're bored. However, my characters falling in love are not one of those people. They're doing this as a sort of vengeance, and or these are really bad people that they're removing from the earth and making it a safer place almost. So like, I like that contrast in there of like, and I think that's why I like Brynn so much, is it's not done just because, you know, it's happening like for a, in their mind, justifiable reason. And so while the normal rational person does not become like this person like Harper and Nolan are, I like how she showed how this trauma changed Harper, not even in the retrospect of like, she now takes people out when they're bad people. I'm not even talking about that aspect, because obviously that is the extreme, like, sort of fantasy point of this book. I'm talking about the very real point of she watched her boyfriend pass away. And now she has this man in front of her that she loves and she wants to love, but within her, she feels that if she loves something, it's going to be taken away. And I'm somebody who, at the hands of ex-boyfriends, has gone through trauma. It's very hard to be like, okay, I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna fall in love again. I'm gonna trust another person again. It's just not that simple. And I deal with that a lot within my personal life. I don't really talk about it on here because, like, we're here for books, sis, okay? I haven't had an ex pass away. I know people who have lost their significant other in a very traumatic, very sudden way. And dealing with that and being like, okay, how do I live a life after this? I think that Brynn shows the really good internal monologue of like, well, is it worth it to love somebody when your time with them might be cut short again? Or is it better to just truly be alone and not love anyone again? Because how horrible it would feel to lose them again. And then it also plays on the fact in this book of, well, she doesn't really lose Nolan, but she does lose all trust in him. And with Nolan, it's sort of, we see a different side of grief. We see the anger of thinking that this person who took your loved one away from you is still alive and still out there and just living a life, no consequences at all, and how far that will push a person to break. How this book deals with grief and deals with the different aspects of grief, like anger and loss and lack of trust and fear to love something because it's just going to be taken away, was done really well. And that's why I admire Brynn so much. She like gets in the heads of other people, even if she's never lived a trauma. She does her research, you can tell. And she truly just puts herself in this person's shoes to maybe as to what she would feel if she was in this extreme crazy situation. I think she also dealt with Alzheimer's in a really beautiful way. How it was dealt with in this book was so perfect because there's also those like funny moments and when they say something hilarious, or you can see that like even though they have this condition, they're still them. And they're still like, they just have like the strongest points of their personality come out. And like, oh my god, the love I had for the character Henry as a grandfather figure in this book. Even though he's a father figure to Harper, I looked at him as like a grandfather figure, I guess. And I love how like their banter back and forth of like, he says a specific type of shoe, and I forget what it's even called, but she keeps calling them Christina Ricci's. And just their banter and their bond back and forth was so beautiful. And even though it was heartbreaking to lose the character Henry in this book, I liked that in the end, he didn't allow the same serial that took his daughter to take him. That's the factor that I liked about it. He said, you're not getting me. You're not adding me to this little number that you have in your mind for your sick game. I'm gonna go be with my daughter and wife now. F you. Literally hit him with the Ariana. F you, you fucking suck. I loved that that was his final act of vengeance towards LaPlume. He couldn't find him in time to stop him, but he could find him in time to know that what he was doing was going to motivate Harper to find him. What a gift Henry was to this series. And watching these two fall in love, and don't get me wrong, this book has very heavy parts, but also like so fun, so funny. I love the side characters in this as well, like her best friend at like the Shipwreck Bean, which is the cafe place in Cape Carnage. And I loved like the dance at Cape Carnage where they take all of like the mannequin like zombie dummies and they all take them and they all dance with it. It's just so macabre and it's so awesome. I just loved it. And it was definitely spicy. There is in detail spicy scenes, so if that's not your vibe for books and reading, you don't like spice, maybe this isn't for you. I love a good like enemies to lovers, and I like that we just literally picked up right where we left off in Taurus season. I love that there was still that kind of energy of enemies to lovers of like, well, does he actually love me, or is this like a long con for him to like get his revenge? Again, this book is just beautiful of how it deals with the talks of grief and moving on and moving forward and choosing to live a life instead of sitting with the grief as Harper has, especially as she did in the first book, and how Nolan is also able to put his grief aside. And I'm sorry, there was a shadow of a wasp on my blind. I needed to make sure it was on the outside and not the inside. Jesus. Things like that scare me. But those were my main takeaways from this book of like how they dealt with grief, how they dealt with new grief, how they dealt with talking about the loss of previous characters that we never met, but also dealing with the loss of a really well-beloved character in this book. I had a feeling in the first book that he was going to be the sacrificial lamb of this series that's going to change Harper, and it has. She has to survive this again, and that is where we've left off in this book. I have no notes on this book. It was perfect. It was so well done. It was so well explained without being also really like inconceivable. The thing about Bren's books is that you read them and you're like, this could happen. This is very possible. And all of these characters are so lovable in like their own twisted way that like you can't help but want to see what happens to them. I cannot wait for the third book. I need it like now. I need it in my audiobooks now. I'm excited to see how Nolan sort of escapes LaPlume and how Harper, it's gotta be Harper that takes out LaPlume. I feel that within my bones. She has so much of a vengeance on Henry's behalf that it has to be her. I'm excited to see exactly where all of this goes. I'm also excited to see what it's gonna be called. I am making a prediction right now. Taurus season, harvest season, and I think the third book is going to be hunting season because she's going to hunt LaPlume. I think it's going to be hunting season. So we shall see. I could be way off, but I cannot recommend the series of Cape Carnage to you enough. That she's a really good entry point author for dark romance. If she's the only sort of dark romance author you read, sort of like me, I'm not too deep into dark romance. I'm hoping to find another author like her. So if you have an author that writes similarly to her, please suggest them in the comments down below because I've been looking. It's looking bleak. I cannot recommend her or her books enough. Harvest season, 6 stars, absolutely amazing. And I'm excited for the next one. That is it for today's video. That is it for my review of Harvest Season. If you liked it, please be sure to subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you read Harvest Season, what were your thoughts, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.